MacVoices is supported by LinkedIn Jobs. Find the right person for your business today with LinkedIn Jobs. Pay what you want and get $50 off your first job post at linkedin.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, normally at this time of year, I would be on a plane to Las Vegas for NAB. Unfortunately, as you can see, I'm not on a plane for an NAB or anywhere else for that matter, but we're going to try to bring a little bit of NAB to you by talking to some of the folks that we always get together with at NAB. First up, Terri Morgan of Luma Fusion. Terri, it's great to see you. Sorry, I'm all tongue-tied seeing you.
That's so sweet. Thanks, Thanks, Chuck. I'm tongue-tied too.
And Neill Barham of FiLMiC is here as well. Neill, it's good to see you.
Great to see you both. Thrilled to be here.
Okay, so neither one of us got tongue-tied, so I guess we're not that glad to see each other, but what are you going to do? So I know that, the canceling of NAB is sort of a mixed blessing. I mean, it's a distraction for everybody. It takes up a lot of time, obviously costs a lot of money, but at the same time, it's so worth it because you get to make those personal connections. But you two have partnered up and are trying to sort of fill the gap, I guess, not for the whole NAB, but for some of your creative community by announcing an event. And so I don't want to steal your thunder. I'm just going to let you two take it from there and tell us about it.
Go ahead, Neill.
Okay, so we certainly enjoy interfacing with the creative community at NAB. I think it's one of the highlights for why we enjoy going to that show, as well as Mojo Fest, which is another event that we had on the calendar that got canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we collectively hatched the idea that if we couldn't go out to the community, maybe we could host an event together, bring in some of the creatives who have used our tools to wonderful effect over the past handful of years to showcase how they did it with the broader global community, people who might be considering using either FiLMiC or Luma or the devices that they have in their hands at home to try to put stories together, learn new skill sets, be creative, and contribute meaningful stories to the world even while we're on lockdown. So that was sort of the beginnings of the idea. And we've actually had a stupendous response from the creative community. I think we initially put the call out to, maybe 50 people. And within a matter of probably 48 hours, we had 70 respondents. So the majority of people we reached out to initially were incredibly enthusiastic about it. But one of the unintended benefits is everybody knows somebody who's talented and has something meaningful to contribute to the creative community. And so people began to recommend other talented people, and the list of speakers grew from there. So who knows how short or long this program will go, but we at least have 4 weeks of meaningful sessions scheduled out, and we're kicking it off this Friday.
Yeah, such a great idea. And of course, so many events and things are moving online, trying to figure out the logistics of it. And it sounds like you all have at least gotten your version of it down pretty well if you're that confident that you're scheduling 4 weeks worth of speakers.
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of help from within our team, and also Glenn Mulcahy, who was the founder of Mojo Fest, is working with us to bring this together. And he has a lot of event experience and a lot of online experience, as well as the people within both FiLMiC and Luma Touch. And also, I don't know if Neill mentioned that it's a free event, and we felt that that was super important to do as a free event, and that this is the time for us to be giving back to our communities, not taking more away. So we hope that people just enjoy it and learn from it, and go out and create some stories from there.
So it's a free event. It's online, obviously. Is there because it's virtual, is there a capacity, or is it, throw it open, and if you are interested, you can come and take a look?
Right. Yeah, it's on. It'll be on our YouTube channels and both of our Facebook channels and both of our YouTube channels, and the capacity is I think unlimited as far as I know.
Oh, great! So everybody listening, come on over and check this out. We have to ask because, we're all video people. If you don't mind telling us, and if you prefer not to get into it, that's fine. But what is the framework you're using to deliver all this? Obviously through YouTube and Facebook, but what are you using to put it all together?
Yeah, so StreamYard is the back-end solution that we're using after taking a look at about 3 or 4 of the more prominent players in the space, but it's the one that was best suited towards supporting each individual speaker and the visual and educational content that they're going to try to make as part of their 20 to 30 minute program. So, yeah. Don't know the people at StreamYard, but tip of the hat to them for having a really nice, intuitive platform that we were able to learn within about a week's time to reasonable degree of proficiency. And so we think it's going to make a great vehicle for the succession of talks. And I think I'd like to just add a little bit of color that it's going to be about a 20-minute educational presentation for each speaker, sort of a TED Talk digestible bite, and that's going to be followed by 10 minutes of Q&A. So if there are any speakers that resonate with our audience in particular, then they can certainly hang around afterwards and try to get their question answered directly. And if there's a speaker that doesn't quite resonate with what somebody's trying to do creatively, just hang around a little bit longer, and then there'll be a new speaker that comes along with their own individual slant on how they like to create mobile video.
Great. I love that format because you're right. That makes it very consumable and a little less classroom-like, a little more event-like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and community-like. Ideally, it's going to be a venue where everybody learns. FiLMiC learns, Luma learns, the instructors learn from the audience themselves, and then, of course, the audience at home is picking and choosing the bits that are applicable to how they want to improve their storytelling.
That brings up a good point, because one of the things that we benefit from NAB is not just telling our story, but we just have so much contact with customers there and get so much feedback from them that it's a checkpoint for us, and it's a place where we can really understand what people want just by being there and listening. And so we're missing out on that by not going to NAB this year.
So 20 minutes per speaker, 30 minutes with Q&A. So how long, let's say this Friday or the following Friday or whenever, it is, how many hours or how many sessions will there be per day?
There are going to be 8 sessions spread across 2 2-hour blocks. So we're, I guess, trying to appeal to multiple time zones, at least initially, and it's possible that we'll try to scale up and add yet another time zone. But initially, we're trying to make sure that we can appeal to the majority of our user base in the EU and I suppose the MENA countries as well. And then after that, it would be playing primarily to a North and South American time zone and appealing hopefully to the early risers in New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges of trying to do something like this, is all of a sudden you really have to think globally about what times you pick. And it can be tough enough here in the US, just trying to figure out East Coast, West Coast, let alone what time is it in Europe, what time is it in Australia, what time is it in Japan, so that you just don't completely block out part of the audience.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to have everybody there live and be able to interact with our speakers, but I think they will be available after the fact on our YouTube channels, and So there will be a chance to watch them later if you really can't get up at 4 a.m. in Australia.
Or rewatch them if there's a key concept that was somewhere in that 20 minutes, but you want to revisit it to make sure you get the specifics. There will be VOD of all sessions archived after the fact, just like Terri said. So whether you're sleeping late or have your hands full because you're multitasking while you're watching, you can always go back and revisit and get all the details that you need.
So I assume it's safe. It's safe to assume that this is not just going to be talking heads. That there are going to be some demos. There are going to be some screen sharing and that kind of thing.
I think there will be some of that. I think what we were really interested in is hearing what motivates all these different creators to do what they do. How does mobile filmmaking improve their workflows? How does it improve their livelihood, their lives? How can people who are in a place right now due to COVID where they're reinventing themselves, what does it mean to be a mobile filmmaker? So I think there will be some, hands-on demoing, but there'll also be some more philosophical speaking about what it means to be a mobile filmmaker.
LinkedIn Jobs is supporting this edition of MacVoices. Hiring the right people is one of the best ways to help grow your business, but it shouldn't take time away from your other priorities. With LinkedIn Jobs, it doesn't have to. Getting a job has changed. Finding good people for a job you need to fill has changed. And I don't know anyone who isn't looking for good people to make their organization run. With LinkedIn Jobs, you get candidates screened for both the hard and the soft skills you're looking for. That helps you make that hire fast. And I mentioned soft skills. LinkedIn looks beyond the work skills and qualification and puts your job post in front of the qualified candidates who match your requirements. Did you know that a person is hired every 8 seconds with LinkedIn Jobs? And that LinkedIn Jobs has been rated the #1 hiring platform for delivering quality hires? I use LinkedIn. I don't know anyone who is in business who doesn't use LinkedIn. And that's why to find the right person for your business, you need to go to linkedin.com/MacVoices today. Pay what you want and get the first $50 off at linkedin.com/MacVoices. LinkedIn.com/MacVoices for $50 off your first hire. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks to LinkedIn Jobs for their support of MacVoices. So you've both used the word mobile here, mobile filmmaking. Is this just primarily for your audiences? Because obviously you two represent the companies that just make the most sense, or two of the companies that make the most sense for mobile filmmaking. With Neill with the #1 camera app, Terri, you with the #1 video editing on iOS. It's anybody that's doing mobile video is going to be using one or both of your programs almost certainly. So is it primarily targeted at your two audiences, or is it just for anyone that's doing any kind of mobile film creation?
I'm guessing that we're both going to be pretty eager to dive in and answer this one. Sorry, Terri, look like I jumped the gun there a little bit. But I think it appeals to storytellers specifically. And mobile might have been the segment of the market that we have traditionally appealed to, but I think the pandemic has forced a lot of people who are not used to working creatively inside of their home potentially to reimagine how they want to go about continuing narrative production. So I think this is a great opportunity for both of our companies to reach out to people who might traditionally go downtown and edit on a big nonlinear edit station to be like, well, you might not be able to go into the studio this week, this month, but you can certainly break out your iPad and guess what? You can achieve essentially the same thing. And here's how. So I think it's a great opportunity for both companies to expand their scope and appeal to people who may have not given mobile a look in the past, but realize now that they have to reinvent how they do things.
Yeah, and even for those people that haven't been using professional gear, we have lots of new stories to tell right now. Every one of us has new stories to tell. And I think mobile brings this possibility to people that never even thought about editing or shooting on mobile, they're all said, well, this is what I have, and I'm at home and I have a really cool story to tell, and I want to share it with people, whether it's your family or people online around the world. So I think mobile is understandably a very appealing thing right now.
Not only that, but the line between professional and semi-professional and even amateur is blurring, because we're seeing well-known filmmakers use some of the tools that I have sitting around my house and you have sitting around your houses, and everybody has sitting around their houses. I'm not sure that the three of us are the best example for that. But yeah, iPhones and simple little microphones and handheld gimbals. And so it seems like such a great time to get into this if you think you have anything to say or anything you want to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Neill, I'll let you speak to the filmmakers using FiLMiC, but first I'll just say that quality has always, since I started in the business in the 80s, it's always been, we're professionals because our video has higher quality. In part, that was the gate. That was the wall that some people couldn't get behind because of cost or skill or all sorts of reasons. And that gate has been removed now. You can get really high quality shooting on your iPhone, editing on your iPad. And so now the gate is really just about, do you have the desire to tell a story? And are you willing to put yourself out there? And that's pretty amazing to me that we can now hear from absolutely anyone who has a story to tell and see it in a very high quality way.
Yep, I would echo exactly what Terri said. And I think that one of the biggest things that is compelling, appealing, exciting for both companies is not that professional filmmakers can replicate the same level of quality that they have traditionally gotten on more expensive gear with mobile. That certainly is appealing in and of itself. But who knows exactly what the world's going to look like 12 to 24 months from now, what the economy is going to look like, what the job market is going to look like. Maybe 16 million jobless claims over the last 3 weeks, if I'm remembering the headlines somewhat correctly. So the fact that this opens a door now to anybody to add another potentially professional skill set to their list of abilities and give them another way to either make an ancillary or primary income down the road, that's amazing. So you certainly don't have to be a professional filmmaker or editor to have an interest in the Mobile Creator Summit. And if you're looking for ways to diversify your skill set, then I think this would be an ideal venue to take a look.
And not just diversify your existing skill set, but create a new one. We're seeing a lot of small businesses to try to differentiate themselves and set themselves apart and communicate with their customers, promote themselves through Facebook and YouTube through just short 30-second, 60-second videos. And this is a way for them to learn a little bit more about some of the great mobile tools, but also the techniques that can help them stand out. I mean, they may not think of themselves as filmmakers, but guess what? They really are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people have a really important message to tell their communities about how their services have changed, how to access their services. Are you allowed to go to a business, or should you call? Do you find them on the website? Do they deliver? Can you still get your sink fixed if your sink is broken, which mine is? But all these questions, and video is absolutely a great way to let your community know how to access your services.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry that much about. I mean, obviously, the more quality, the better. But like so many things, get the message out there, and and make it genuine, and you've won 3/4 of the battle.
Yeah.
And I would also say that applies to actually your story in general. I mean, the stronger your story is, that's the most important thing. A good narrative at a lower resolution is still going to be more captivating than an 8K film of something utterly vacuous. So I think that's kind of what appeals to us so much, and actually why we feel sort of like a, I guess, profound sense of loss a bit about the upcoming events that we're not able to participate, because it's through that personal one-to-one exchange with our users that we hear about these wonderful story ideas that we had no idea were taking place. So I don't know, the Creator Summit and the Q&A that goes on after each session will be a fully satisfactory replacement for being at NAB and talking across the booth with our users. But I hope so, because that's where we hear about some of the most fascinating examples of people pushing the envelope on what's possible with narrative storytelling and how mobile devices let people go more places with a lighter footprint and basically blend into the scenes without calling attention to themselves, to actually get stories that wouldn't have been possible previously. So there are a lot of interesting ins and outs to the mobile creative community.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, we're all in the middle of this, living through it, but this is history right here that we're sitting in, and our grandkids and kids, well, my child will have a memory of it, to some degree, missing his kindergarten year of school. And, to document this moment in history is, I think, a really important thing for us to do. And what better to do that with than your phone that you carry around with you every minute as you live through this, nightmare that we're having right now. So
that's such a good point, Terri. I know I was talking to some friends about this the other day, and depending on what age you are, what generation you are, the odds are that you may not have seen a world war, or you may not have seen the Great Depression, and those things that seem to traumatize a generation or two, and carry with them the rest of their lives. This is one of those things right here, right now. And it's going to affect all of us for a long time. And I think your point about it being history it's being overlooked at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, every day I think, I should be writing a journal about just what it's like to do this. And then I think, I've got my phone. So I've been shooting I have to do the homeschool lessons with my child, who absolutely hates having his parent as a teacher, because that's just not right. But I routinely videotape that, just as okay, this is where we were and this is what we were doing. And this is what the, COVID brought into my life. So, yeah. But I think there's all sorts of situations that people are in, way worse than that, obviously, that deserve to be recorded and shared with the rest of the world.
Agreed. Would I be out of line in asking you to give us an idea of some of the speakers and their topics, or is that something you'd prefer to people to go and look at the website?
No. I think that we'd be happy to give a little primer for the initial session. So we're focusing on mobile filmmaking. We're focusing on vlogging, YouTubing, which is certainly an accessible way for anybody to build an audience these days. And then subsequent sessions further on, we'll get into mobile journalism. We'll get into documentary filmmaking. So that's a brief overview. Terri, do you want to take a crack at the speakers for the first week?
Well, I can speak on a couple of them, and I'll leave some others to you. So I'll start with Angelo Ciaccio. He is the person behind the Ephemera documentary. So he traveled to 30 different places on Earth that will not exist in 30 years due to either climate change or social changes or just aging generations. And he documented those for an entire year with just what he could carry on his back, which was an iPad for editing and a camera. And he went around the world and did this for a year. And so he's going to speak about his experiences doing that. So I just love Angelo. He's an amazing guy, really nice, and also just he's someone that got out of his house and did something incredibly amazing, and that I have greatest amount of respect for. Then we have, I will do Photo Joseph, who, as you probably know, has done a lot of the new Luma Fusion tutorials. He's also ambassador for several photographic brands. So he's very knowledgeable photographer as well as a very knowledgeable editor. And then Henny the Business. I don't know if you've ever looked him up, but he was at NAB for us last year as our spokesperson. He is a vlogger. He is an educator. He's on the board of Grammys. He's just a very accomplished guy that's incredibly fun to listen to. So he'll be speaking. And let's see. Do you want to do Cassius and Richard?
Sure. Yeah. So a couple of the filmmakers that are going to be featured in the first half of the first day of programming. One would be a filmmaker educator out of London called Cassius Rayner, who works under the brand of Go Film It. His father was actually an editor for Stanley Kubrick, so he has basically grown up around filmmaking his entire life. And actually, he did or is in the process of doing a series, which I think harkens back to what you guys were both talking about, which is unique stories documenting what it was like during the COVID pandemic. So Cassius lives in London, which has been on lockdown for multiple weeks. And so the people who live there are seeing the city in a way that it's never been before. Quiet, empty streets in the midst of one of the busiest, most populous cities in the world. And so what ends up coming out of that is something eerie, haunting, profound, thought-provoking. So I would encourage people to take a look on Twitter, at least is where I bump into the bulk of Cassius's stories, and take a look at those. And they've actually inspired other filmmakers to do similar short narratives of what it's like in their hometown at this time. Also, part of the first half of the first day would be a color grading specialist named Richard Lackey, who's based in Dubai and has a long history of working with, ARIs and then color grading in DaVinci Resolve. And in the last couple of years, Richard's become enamored about how close you can come to replicating the absolute premier cinematic experience with tools that cost a fraction of the price. And so, what's an ARRI run, $30-something thousand? DaVinci's a little bit more affordable, but it's still going to run you many times more than the combination of FiLMiC and Luma. And so to see Richard Lackey approximate what he's always done with tools that are accessible to everyone, I think is going to be one of the fascinating highlights of the first day of programming. And then we have 3 female filmmakers, which I'm incredibly excited about. So we have Sal Massimini, but make no mistake, Sally Ann is one of the great up-and-coming filmmakers in the world, and I think you will be seeing her directing feature-length film. She came to our collective attention by directing the initial promotional short film for Red back when they were dipping their toe into the mobile camera space with the Hydrogen One. And Sal made a great film called N.I., which was a combination sci-fi horror film that was a great film in and of itself. But what I love about it is with almost any film, you can tell the level of skill within the first half a dozen shots, and whether you're in for a good experience, a great experience, or a bad experience. And that was certainly true with NI, that you knew almost instantly that you were in for a great experience and in the hands of a director who had something special in both vision and dealing with her actors as well. And then the second half of the program, we have two highly successful YouTube personalities. We have iJustine, who is pretty much at the pinnacle of YouTube vlogging popularity, and a great case of a self-made businesswoman turning herself into a global force. And iJustine has certainly become enamored with mobile tools over the past couple of years and been using them increasingly as part of her arsenal. And then similarly, Cielo de la Paz of the Story Graphist is a versatile photographer, video shooter, and editor who's trained people all over the Bay Area and has been featured in Apple's Shot on iPhone Billboard campaign, and a wonderful educator in her own right.
I love the mix. I love the mix because what I heard just in this set is I heard inspiration, I heard motivation, I heard a little bit of gear, some technical parts, distribution, YouTube, self-branding. There are so many things that you all are covering just in that first set of speakers. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, and philosophically, that's why mobile, which I think is a term that Terry and I gravitate towards as a sort of like catch-all. But the thing that's amazing about it is it removes the gatekeepers to who gets to tell a story. So here you have a very diverse panel of people, gender, ethnicity, age, geographical location, and basically they all took it upon themselves to become powerhouses in their own right. And that is the avenue that's open to anyone. And that I can even just see it on Terry's face right now, like smiling, because that's what gives us a lot of joy and satisfaction. That we learn.
To have a skill and to be able to control your own financial destiny with the skills that you have is very powerful. Admittedly, being a freelancer right now during COVID is a difficult thing, but generally to figure out what you're going to do after COVID and say, how can I control my financial destiny or my professional life, just by getting off the couch first and picking up the gear and telling my story. I mean, it's pretty empowering and amazing that all these people on our list have done that in one way or another over the past few years, and most of them to quite a degree of success. So
we've covered a lot here. Is there anything that we didn't cover that folks should know about this summit, and how they can go and get involved, and what they need?
There's a website you can go to, mobilecreatorsummit.com, and that will allow you to go there and learn about the speakers, see the schedule, and sign up to get more information and be alerted when the event starts.
And I should have asked this before, is this something, if I wake up Friday morning as we record this and say, boy, I forgot that was going on, I want to go over and participate or at least view this, is it just a matter of logging in and watching your YouTube or video channels? Do I need to pre-register? How is that working, or is there any restrictions?
So as Terry pointed out, pre-registration is preferable because then we can notify you prior to the start of any of the sessions, but I believe it is not mandatory, and what we're trying to do is make this as accessible to many people as possible. So as I think Terry said at the outset of the call, it's going to appear on both of our YouTube channels, both of our Facebook channels. There'll be portals from Twitter and Instagram to get you to the StreamYard to watch the cast as well.
Great. Congratulations to both of you for conceiving it, for putting together what sounds like a fantastic panel of speakers for the first one, and just organizing the whole thing for those of us who aren't going to make it to NAB this year, or for those of us that might never make it to NAB. This is a great way to open folks' eyes to mobile video creation.
Thanks, and we really appreciate you having us on and allowing us to talk about it and share it with people.
Hey, you guys know you're always welcome. You're always welcome.
Before I would just say in closing that I think some of the people who dip their toe in the water and watch these sessions who may have never been to NAB in the past might find themselves wanting to go to NAB in the future. So they might hear you there.
Good point. And I'll issue a warning. If you find that you want to go to NAB and you go to NAB, you will want to go back every single year, because you come home so motivated, so full of knowledge and information, and it's like a fire under you. So just be warned. Be warned. Before I let you two go, I want to make sure that folks know where they can find each of you and your products and all that. Terri, I'll let you go first.
Well, our website is www.luma-touch.com, and you can find us on YouTube by just searching for Luma Touch, and Facebook as well.
Great. Thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Neill, you're up.
www.filmicpro.com, and on social media at FiLMiC Pro on Facebook and Twitter, and then Instagram at FiLMiC Apps. So, yep, find us anywhere and then follow us, and we look forward to bringing more creative tools to the community at large, and I know Luma's hard at work on doing the same.
Guys, thank you so much. It's wonderful to see you both, and you can count on me being there for as many sessions as I can be there for, because I'm already enthusiastic about it.
I am too. I'm looking forward to it myself, to watch it. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chuck.
Yes, we'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. I can't stress it enough. If you have even the slightest interest in video filmmaking, mobile video filmmaking, just figuring out what it's all about, this is a perfect opportunity. It won't cost you anything except a little time, and you'll get a sense of what's going on. And for those of you missing NAB, this is a pretty good start to fill it in. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.